Alright, so yesterday we covered how to solve a system of equations by graphing. We are about to move on to the algebraic methods of solving systems of equations, but before we do that, we need to refresh our memory on how to solve multi-step equations. So here we have one equation with only one variable, r, so we can solve this. The very first thing you want to do is, if you have parentheses with something in the front of it, we're going to distribute. So that means we're going to multiply the negative 3 times 1 and negative 3 times 6r. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 times 6r is negative 18r. And we're just going to bring down the right side. The next thing I notice is that there is an r on the left side and an r on the right side. We need to get those together. So I'm going to move the negative 18r. I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 18r to both sides. Mark it out on the left side. Bring down the negative 3. Bring down the equal sign. Bring down the 14. Here I have negative 1r plus 18r. So in other words, it's 18 minus 1, which is 17r. Now that I've gotten the r's together, let's get the constants together. Constants are the numbers without variables. So we have a negative 3 and a 14. I'm going to move the 14 because right now it's on the right hand side, which is where my variable is. And I'm trying to get the variable by itself. So let's move the 14 to the left side. Since it's a positive 14, I'll need to subtract. What I do to one side, I do to the other. You can mark out the 14s there. And then negative 13 and negative 14 will make negative 17 equals, bring down the 17r. And then my last step is to divide. You always want to divide by the coefficient. That's the number in front of the variable. So divide by 17, mark those out, we get r equals, and then negative 17 divided by positive 17 is negative 1. So r equals negative 1. Alright, now we have a bit of a longer problem, but still the same process. I see a parentheses with a number in front, so I'm going to distribute. 2 times 5k is 10k, and then 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Then we can just bring down the right hand side. Next, I want to look for like terms. On the left side, I see a negative 4k and a positive 10k. There's also a k on the right hand side. But when we're combining like terms, only look at one side at a time. So just looking at the left side, I can combine those two k's together, and I cannot combine them with the negative 12 because that one does not have a k. So let's add negative 4 plus 10 is going to be 6k. Bring down the negative 12 equals negative 3k minus 39. Now a common misconception is students want to do the opposite when combining, but that's not true. You only do the opposite when you go across the equal sign. So if your variables are on the same side, just add them together as they are. Don't change any signs. So we combine the k's together on the left side. On the right side, there's a k and a constant, so we cannot combine those together. Now let's start getting things on the same side. So I'm going to get my variables together first. I can move whichever one I want. I always move the smaller one, so that would be a negative 3k. So since it's negative, I need to add 3k to the other side. Because I'm going across the equal sign, I have to change it to do the opposite. So I can mark those out, and now I have 9k minus 12 equals, and I'm going to bring down the negative 39. Be very careful that you don't miss that sign. Whatever sign's in front of the number always goes with it. Okay, we got the variables together. Now let's get these constants together. So since my k is on the left side, I want to move everything that's not a k to the right. So I'm going to move the negative 12 to the right hand side. I'm going to have to change its sign since we're going across the equal sign. So now it's a positive 12. So bring down my 9k equals negative 39 plus 12. Let's see, those are opposite signs, so they would take away. It would be a negative 27. And then my final step, divide by 9. You're always dividing by the number in front of the variable. So k equals -3 is my answer. Here's our last example. And immediately when you look at this, a lot of students would kind of start to freak out because they see a fraction right here. But don't worry, it's not that big of a deal. We're still going to start out the same way. We're going to distribute it. So I need to multiply 2/3 times 6. So this is what I do over to the side. So this is something that you're going to end up having to do for like your SATs and your ACTs. Because typically they will put fractions like this on the non-calculator part of your test. So I need to multiply 2/3 times 6. So I'm going to make it 6/1. And then all I do is multiply straight across, which is 12/3. And then you can divide that. 12 divided by 3 is 4. I'm going to do the same thing with the 15. It's a -15, but for multiplication, I'm just going to look at the positive part of it right now. I'll deal with the negative in a moment. So same thing. I put 15/1 to make it a fraction. Multiply straight across. So on the top we get 30. On the bottom we get 3. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Okay, now I can fill that back into my equation. So this is what I get now. 2/3 times 6x is 4x. 2/3 times -15 is -10. Now let's see what else we can do. So we've already distributed. Now I want to see if there's any like terms. So just looking at the left side, there are no like terms. One has a variable, the other does not. On the right side, there's only one term. So are there multiple x's to get on the same side? There's only one x term. There's none over here, so I don't need to get them together. But I do have these two constants. We need to get those together. And since I'm trying to get x by itself, it's everything that's on the left-hand side that I need to move to the right. So that means we are going to move that -10. So I'll have to add 10, change its sign because it's going across this line. So I'll bring down my 4x equals, that would add up to 28. And then we are going to divide by 4. So x equals 7. That is my final answer. Alright y'all, now it's your turn to try. So here's our equation. 5 parentheses 1 plus 4m minus 2m equals -13. Y'all solve and find the value of m. We will use this for an example in class tomorrow.